Hi Mia, and thank you so much for joining us in this programme, which looks back on the adventures of a Sea Scout from some years ago. Perhaps you could start by telling us a wee bit about yourself and what you're up to.
I've just finished uni, and I'm just chilling at home during COVID. When did I start as a Sea Scout? Like a long time ago. I feel like I was quite young. But I just remember going out in the boats and having a really good time on the water and maybe getting up to a little bit of mischief, I think, as well. Yeah, throughout school it was fantastic.
What prompted you to join Sea Scouts in the first place?
Oh, probably Dad, actually. And the thought of going out in the boats. It's like brownies, but instead of staying in a hole, you get to go out and do fun things.
We're here to talk about perhaps one of the greatest adventures of your teenage life, which was a trip down the famous Mackenzie River in Canada. Tell us a bit about that. How did that come about?
Well, Dad was always off doing fun, strange trips. And at the time, we thought, yeah, let's do something as a family together.
Tell us a little bit about the journey, first of all, to get to the Mackenzie River.
So the first journey we had to do is from here to Edinburgh, because Inverness Airport is obviously the smallest place in the world. So we couldn't do anything with that. So we went from here to Edinburgh, and then Edinburgh to London, shipping all of our gear, all of the, the guns and the bags and everything. It was ridiculously hard. And we got to London, and we had to take it all through London security, and that was a hassle. Once we flew from London to Calgary, we went to London to Calgary, and genuinely, once you get into Canada, traveling with equipment like guns is so much more easy because they just don't care. You just ship everything through. Yeah, sure, it's a gun, put it on the front seat, whatever. So we went Calgary to Yellowknife
Yellowknife, Hay River.
Yeah, Yellowknife, Hay River. And then from Hay River, we got driven up to a place called Fort Providence, just outside of Fort Providence. And that's where we started our trip. It's just on the Great Slave Lake. So Hay River would be down here. Yellowknife's up here, so you travel down, and then you take a road, and then the Mackenzie goes up this way, up the north.
And how long is the Mackenzie River? To take 3 months, it must be some distance.
It took us 876 miles to get to Sigachik, or Arctic Red River. That is the second last settlement on the river. The next one would be Inuvik, but we couldn't get that far because the weather was changing so quickly. By the time we got to Arctic Red River, it would have been, silly and too long and too dangerous to do the last half. I think that last half is roughly, 170 miles? So, altogether, you're looking roughly 900 miles-ish, give or take. Nautical miles.
What on earth prompted you as a family to decide that we will go to the Mackenzie River?
I think Dad had a lot of previous connections in Canada. He loved the scenery, he loved the people. And I think he just wanted to give us a real taste of something that was wilderness. We talk a lot about wilderness, and often, the roads are 10 miles away, or it's been affected by people in many different ways, forestry, mining. But I have to say, up in Canada, it was one of the most wild places I'd ever been. We didn't see other people for weeks on end. The roads were hundreds of miles away. Sometimes there wasn't a road. I remember very distinctly, actually, my sister on the beach She'd gotten so fed up. We'd been paddling for the first 2 weeks, scorching hot, angry bees and snappy, bitey insects, and my sister was done. And she had a slight meltdown. She threw a porridge pot and she demanded a helicopter to come and pick us up. And Dad very gently had to remind her that in order to get a helicopter, we'd have to paddle for the next 2 months. So it really was quite wild. And I think he wanted to give us that experience of something different, something new, just to really, really challenge us, I guess, as a family, which it did.
Yes, Mackenzie has strong links to Och, as well as Canada. Was that a factor in the choice of destination?
I remember going up and seeing the grave, Mackenzie's grave in Och. And I remember there was a link to Mackenzie and the river. Again, because I was quite young, I don't think I made that connection altogether. But for Dad, I think having the connection with Mackenzie and Och and Canada just gave it that extra, special connection, I guess. But yeah, for me as a youngster, that was way over my head. I don't think I realized, I was only 13 when we went, I don't think I realized how big the trip was. For me, it was, getting the boats and doing a bit of paddling, but it's in a different country. I don't think it quite hit me how big the trip was until I was, about 18 or 19 or so, and be like, oh yeah, I did this trip in Canada, and people are like, whoa, that's a really long trip. I'm like, no, it wasn't that big. But yeah, it was quite long, 3 months, just the 4 of us in a tent. Me and my sister paddled our own boat, which was interesting. Very interesting. And I think when we got to the end of the trip, it's probably the closest our family's ever been. It was honestly a trip of a lifetime, with a lot of responsibility. Yeah, big trip, fun trip.
Thanks, Mayor, for that. In the next episode, we get into the trip itself. Join us next time on Mayor's Great Adventure.